yeah, it was
Yeah.
pretty. It held me on throughout since the beginning. But
Mm-hmm.
what I was not sure of is I found kind of off was the Vel moment. The Vel like why was she hesitating in between? Like, because like they were like the buildup was already there. They planned this for several months. Then I'm not sure where the hesitation was coming from when Cinta was
Mm-hmm.
telling her, do it, give the order, give the order. So I was like, I was kind of off with that. Like, you already made it this far, then you're gonna hesitate now. You're only gonna have second doubts now. But everything else was actually pretty good. Like, oh shoot, I think she's gonna die. Oh, I think he's gonna die. Then it turns out it's actually Taramin, the former stormtrooper, is the one who died. Actually died.
Mm-hmm.
Then everyone else, well, at first made it alive, but then yeah, I also like the part with no, not Mimic, Skeen. It turns out like he was just profiteering for himself. He didn't really have a brother, and he was just the reason why he wanted to get close to Cassian was because he was the getaway. He was the
Mm-hmm.
getaway with all their payroll. Yeah, which I kind of like because yeah, I mean it it deviates from your typical good guy persona. Like it
Mm-hmm.
turns out this guy's actually is actual scum to begin. I like that. I like deeper someone who has more depth or manipulation because
Well,
you don't
remember,
see
Mm-hmm.
those. Yeah,
I was
yeah.
gonna
Go
say,
ahead.
remember he was also in prison at some point because he had the prison tats.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah. So it runs a lot. I like characters running a lot deeper, even though they're evil in the end. But because it's not all the time you see, it's either they're stereotypically good or they're stereotypically evil. Especially in Star Wars, right? Like if
Mm-hmm.
you're a Sith, he's a Sith. If you're a Jedi, basically you're a good person. But here it's you're dealing with a lot of gray areas, a lot of gray characters, which I am a big fan of because those
Mm-hmm.
are the more interesting plot lines compared to your you've seen already enough of the typical good or evil fights.
Mm-hmm.
Mixing it up with gray. Always it makes things a lot more interesting for everybody.
Yep, I agree completely.
Yeah, like there was this what's it called again? When you said scum, it sort of it sort of remind me of that terrible scene in in the Last Jedi when he's like, "You're scum." He's like, "Rebel scum." But yeah, I actually really like what's it called again? Yeah, Yaskeen was actually making up all these like backstories to sort of like get people to sympathize with him. Like sometimes you just have to, like, why can't a character be written sort of like that? Like he's just not a good person for the sake of being not a good person, right? He's just selfish. He just wants to do all that kind of stuff. Versus like sometimes I have a feeling like they're trying to. A lot of shows nowadays are trying to make the villain sympathetic. Like you sympathize with the villain. It's like, okay, we don't have to do that for every single thing. Just because a couple of properties work, like for some of the characters that like I think the first major one that a lot of people really liked was Killmonger, right? Like a lot of people like, oh, this is person that like you were actually rooting for Killmongers because yeah, he actually has the correct claim to the throne.
Yep.
He won his fight, and that was we can have that good story versus, and then you have like Maleficent, who's like literally like a force of evil, just literally chaotic evil. No, let's give this person a backstory now. They're actually flawed from the beginning, and the reason why they're like this is because of this. No, why can't we just have a person who's just bad because they're just a bad person, right? And
Mm-hmm.
I have a feeling like they sort of did a misdirection with Skeen, and which I actually really really liked because you felt bad for him. You're like, okay, the reason why he's like this is because he all the shit that happened with him and his brother, but all of that is just bullshit. He just wanted to. He's a bad person because he's a bad person. I'm like, I like that's a very bold move which I really liked.
I'd love to know who vetted him into the terror cell.
Say that again.
I'd love to know who
Who
vetted
vetted
him.
him?
Who
Oh,
did the background
Who
check?
recruited it? Luthen. It's Luthen. Luthen messed up.
mm-hmm. But yeah, it's definitely good. I like the part. I like this particular part. Like on scene where so you have the what were these indigenous people called again? The
Donnie.
Danis,
Donnie. Yeah.
the Dani, and I'm like, what was this like weird tradition they're doing? And then like I remember like the first couple of stars shot, and I'm like, oh, and I started to glow green. I'm like, this looks really pretty. And then all of a sudden, all of them just came. I'm like, this is I love the fact that the entire the entire episode was very muted in color. And then all of a sudden you get boom, big vibrance, like saturated color. I'm like, this is really pretty.
That's a great point.
And then all of a sudden you have like the TIE fighter start chasing them. I'm like, oh, that's gonna be really cool. And I would say, like, everything is actually really, really well done, especially the whole heist scene with what's it called again, the Lieutenant Gorn coming in, and then you see forgot that person's name, but the captain person on the bottom, like Lieutenant Gorn, and he's like, wait, you guys aren't done yet? Hurry the hell up. And then he slowly realized, like, holy fuck, this person has been with me for like 7 years.
Yep.
Like,
Yeah.
what? How deep is this thing? And I love that. That's like a subtle, like I like that acting without talking. It's really well done.
Yeah. Yeah, I was about to say, I think his name is, I took notes. So J Hold, his name is Commander J Hold. I also like the part where he was talking to his family, like he was talking to his son. Okay, get dressed. We're talking to the we're making the fur exchange. I don't know I forgot what it's called. The fur exchange with the Donnie. It's like, why? I don't want to do this. Like, it's like, we're doing this so we can get out of this stinking planet. So I like that they explain the motives of the villains without it being like blatant. Like it explains the backstory that makes sense.
Mhm.
Like the motives are there and it makes sense. Like isn't it you is pertaining to the wife and the child? Aren't you two complaining that they want to get out of here? So do this so that we can get out of here. So I like that part too. It gives more color to the villain, in my opinion.
Well, the cool thing about this also is, in their own minds, no one is a villain in the show. They're just doing their job.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
it's like, I'm at a military base. We've occupied this planet. We're doing this, this, and this. We're not genociding these people. We're just kind of nudging them away from us. You know, we're going to screw up their holy site, but so in their mind, they're not bad guys in anything they're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would say so. Yeah, like there's that one scene. It's a small scene where like Lieutenant Gordon was like, okay, you know, you're off for tonight. Go back and just like do whatever you need to do. Like you're off duty, and they're just there like playing poker or something like that. They're just having, they're just doing their jobs, and they're not like, and the fact that when they came into the what's it called when you see the Commander J Hold, like when one of them came in, I forgot his name was like Zimis or something, Zimis, and they're like, oh, what's going on here? And then Lieutenant Gordon telling him like, okay, go back to your post. This is an order from me. And he's like, no, actually, what's actually going on here? And he's just doing his job. He's literally concerned, and it actually looks like a terrorist group literally stealing stuff.
Yep.
So I'm gonna ignore these orders, and I'm gonna do what I think is right. And it definitely shines a light in sort of like even like modern day stuff that's happening right now with like war and stuff. A lot of these people think that they're doing what's right and what's best for their country or whatever they believe in. And it just maybe you agree or disagree with them. Like there's still people just doing their jobs, even though like like you have this terrorist group who's actually like they're basically stealing from the Empire because they think the Empire is bad. They know the Empire is bad. So we're going to go and steal all this money, by the same time, like kill a bunch of people who are just doing their jobs.
Yeah, basically whoever wins gets to decide who's the terrorist and who's the hero.
True, right?
If the Empire had won, the rebels were terrorists. They were basic. I mean, go back to our Revolutionary War. If we had failed, the Brits would have been calling that whole thing a terrorist operation. For us, they're the founding fathers. So I think they're playing it really well. The thing I really like about this is there's no like mustache twirling villains in this. Maybe those two guards at the beginning, who are beating him up, who got killed, in episode 1. But everyone is just doing their job. They're just doing what they think they need to be doing. There's no one randomly going out just shooting people in the head. Even the and I'm sure Grae, you'll know his name, the security officer who escalated everything, the type A personality guy, like on episode 3.
You mean the investigator? Karn,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Going way
Karn.
back. He wasn't a
Yeah.
villain. He was just a dude doing his job. He wasn't like
Yeah.
Mhm.
out murdering people. He was basically 2 of our guys got killed. We got to look into this.
Mhm.
So I mean, there's no one out there who, if you were completely objective observer and you didn't know the Empire is run by a Sith Lord, you would go, "Hey, these guys over here are doing some bad things. They're murdering people and stealing." You know, I think it's great. They're not making anyone complete, as you said, gray. No one is black and white. No, black and white in this. Everyone's just
Mhm.
sitting in their shade of gray.
Yeah. Someone in chat says, I agree with Grae. The characters are more relatable since human personalities aren't just black and white. Correct. Right. And going back to your what's your statement earlier, Dave? I believe there's a saying that history is written by the victors.
Yep, exactly.
Right. And so it's sort of like imagine if like a Revolutionary War or World War One or World War Two or something like that. In what's it called again? In Vietnam War, like the U.S. was considered the bad guys,
Hmm.
right? It's because but what happens if like we actually if something good came out of that war, then we did democracy in like Vietnam or something like that, like what we did with South Korea. They're gonna label us as good guys, but now it's just like everyone's just saying that it's just this is something that it's definitely relatable, but it's also enough not it's not relatable enough since this is a sci-fi fantasy, but it makes you think, and I do like the fact that they are able to make the viewers feel like okay, not everyone is just bad or good. There is nuances between the characters, and it's definitely really well written, especially with Karn as well. Like I'm definitely looking forward to seeing more of his character development.
Yeah, for sure.
Did you guys feel a little bit of remorse when the commander had the heart attack and died? You know, he basically a family man, loved his family, was protecting his family, doing all that. Didn't even, remember he was there. He could have screamed, "They're attacking us! They're doing this!" He kept quiet because he didn't want anything to happen to his family, and then he died. I felt like, oh, poor guy. He could have screamed, "They're terrorists! They're doing this!" But he wanted to make sure nothing happened to his family, so he kept quiet.
Yeah, it's just thinking about it now. Yeah, I believe like I'm like, how did he die? Did he get shot? And then I'm like, no, he just died. I'm like, that
He had a
sucks.
heart attack.
What about his family? Like I felt bad for him, but I felt more bad about his family because and it's just sort of just the situation just sucks for him. And he's like, oh shit, we didn't mean to kill you. We don't want to kill you. We just want to rob you guys.
Yeah.
And it's like, and the thing is that you don't. I wonder if they're gonna show like the wife and the son's like reaction, like if maybe in the next episode or something like that. It's like not everything that goes on with like the rebellion is like you don't see the other side, right? And like it's sort of like when you hear stories about especially Hiroshima, you hear okay, they attacked us, so they bombed Pearl Harbor and stuff like that, and we know how that feels, but then like you still have stuff that's still happening right now that like people are still having like radiations in like specific islands and stuff like that. And it's just how sort of like their skin started mutating, and just like when you hear all that, it's like, oh, we didn't know that. It's it's just these just the casualties of war, but it's just when you see all these stuff that's happening, you just see how bad war is. You just like
Yes.
and with this Star Wars that's been happening, like it's sort of like there's that one episode in Family Guy, they just make fun of Star Wars, right? The Blue Harvest. It was like at the beginning, and then like stormtroopers came in and like shot this guy, and this guy was like, "Oh, I was about to I was about to retire tomorrow," and stuff like that. Like it's so like, of course the stormtroopers were like they have masks on, so you don't see you can't relate to them, and that's the reason why when we have Finn, we're like, holy crap, that's the first time we had like a stormtrooper that we can actually relate to, and they sort of just brushed them aside in like the second and third movie. And that, but with this, you see more of the actual like soldiers and guards that are just doing their jobs, protecting this area, and making sure everything is going good. And people are just doing their jobs, and it's it's definitely nice to see.
It's all just people doing their jobs. It's the ones at the top who are the bad guys.
Yeah, it's there's a saying in one of the Linkin Park songs. It's called "Hands Held High," and one quote that I always remember was when the rich wage war, it's the poor who dies.
Yep.
And it's just sad. It's because you have all these like people who are high up in their ivory towers, looking down at people who they think that they can just control, and they're better than them. Maybe it's a Sith Lord or something like that. It's just you see all these things happening, and you're just like, man, it sucks. And I'm glad Star Wars is showing both sides of this. It's just like whatever you do is no one comes out on top. Like you ended up killing someone even though you didn't want to. But man,
I'm just really shocked this level of nuance is coming out of Disney Star Wars.
Yeah,
exactly. This is beyond anything I ever expected that they would be able to create with the last few things they've done.
For sure.
Man, I mean, because if you think about Mandalorian, you have good guys, bad guys. You think about Boba Fett, you have good guys, bad guys. Now we have a thing that is just nuance at every level. You could have nuance. Because if you think about our hero was involved. I mean, he murdered one guy straight up. He murdered the guard. He shot him point blank because he was going to run and tell. Was involved accidentally in the killing of the other. So, he's not a white knight in shining armor. It goes all the way across. It's just people just trying to survive and get by.
Oh, man, it's I like that's the reason why I have a feeling that this show definitely feels like it's not really like a slow burn, but it has good payoffs, and then the nuances and the subtleties between the characters, and like you actually like I was actually rooting for Karn. Like in the first couple episodes, I'm like, yeah, dude, just doing his job, man. Just really enthusiastic about his job. Like it sucks what happens to him, but even though we know we know what happens with like Cassian and stuff like that, we know where he does not get caught, he does not get killed until Rogue One, but it's just like, man, dude's just gung-ho work. We all work with that one person who literally follows the rule like to the T, right? And he's like, hey, literally a person who came in a minute late or something like that, and he's like, okay, I'm late, even though I'm late 30 seconds, I'm late. It's like one of those persons like, I have to go back now. I cannot take my lunch break over like 1 second over 30 minutes, so I got to go back. So Karn is that person.
I'm feeling attacked right now.
Thanks for checking out this segment of the Project Eggroll podcast. If you like what we do here, please like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and you will know next time when we go live. We do go live every Saturday at 8 p.m. Once again, we are just getting started. Tons of more video to come. Thanks, and we'll see you guys next time.